It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 11 of The Walking Dead. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my predictions for the final 8 episodes. There's a lot to talk about, how I think they're going to adapt the comic arc when it comes to how the story wraps up in the comics. As part of that, I'm also going to talk about whether they're going to do the time jump and how that's going to go. We're also going to talk about how the final 8 episodes might connect to the spin-offs, and also talk about the possibility of a link or connection to the movies. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break it all down. Alright, as always, before we jump into this, smash that like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that, let's get right into it. So I'm actually going to keep it short, concise, and to the point. I don't want to make this video long. There's a lot to talk about, so I'm going to run through it all, but I'm not going to dive deep into each individual thing. So when it comes to the comic arc, I think they are actually going to adapt the comic arc exactly as it was. I don't think we're going to see major changes when it comes to the Commonwealth storyline specifically. They might remix it slightly to make it fit the TV universe a little bit, but I don't think that they're going to significantly change it. So I do think, just like the comics, we are going to see 2 major deaths in this final 8 episodes. And these 2 deaths are specifically deaths that are direct from the comics. We're probably going to see more major deaths, but it won't be directly linked to the comic arc, to those 2 big deaths from the comics. But when it comes to the 2 people that I think are going to get that, at this point, I'm leaning more towards Aaron and Yumiko or Magna. I could be way off, but everything seems to be lining up for those 2 to get it. Not a huge fan of the 2 of them getting it, but I do see it playing out that way. And honestly, it's not like it's a terrible way to do it. It's just that they could have done it slightly differently with different characters. But other than Aaron and Yumiko and Magna, I do think we're going to see a few other big deaths. I think at this point, Rosita is going to be another major death, Jerry as well, and maybe even Gabriel. I'm 50-50 on that one. But when it comes to what they're gonna do with Lance and Pamela, because in the comics they didn't really do much with them, they were somewhat of a big part of a story earlier on, but as the story progressed in the comics, they became less and less important in the overall story, looking at it from a bigger picture. But I think they're going to change that in the TV adaptation. And the reason why I think they're doing that is because that was one of the key reasons why the comics Commonwealth arc was underwhelming, because they didn't utilize Lance or Pamela like they should have. But in the TV adaptation, I do think that Lance is probably going to take a more dominant role when it comes to being the big bad of the Commonwealth. We've seen that a lot already, and I think we're going to continue to see him dive deeper and deeper into that evil, dark character storyline. When it comes to Pamela, I think we're probably going to see a change in Pamela. I do think that Pamela is going to slightly deviate from what her character was in the comics, but even with that, I don't think that she's going to stay at the Commonwealth very long. One thing in the comics that they didn't really focus on is what happened to Pamela after. We know Maggie became the Commonwealth's leader, but we didn't exactly know what happened to Pamela. So I think in the TV adaptation, there's one of 2 ways they could go with it. Either they could have her turn good, but end up getting killed trying to save the Commonwealth, which I think would be pretty interesting. But there's also another way they could go with it, which is they can have her just step down willingly after everything and kind of fade into the background for the most part. So slightly better than the comics, because at least they're gonna have a resolution for what happens to her, but it'll still be more or less the same because she's gonna fade into the background at the end. When it comes to Maggie, I do think that Maggie will take her comic arc, so she will become the Commonwealth's leader, but I don't think that she'll be the sole Commonwealth leader. I think that they're gonna build a council for the most part, just like they did at Alexandria, but I do think that she will be the face of the Commonwealth. But I do think that at some point someone is gonna temporarily take over when Maggie and Negan go off on their own spin-off. This leads to the spin-off conversation. How is everything gonna connect to the spin-offs? I still think that the Civic Republic military and Rick will be an element of why these 4 characters, Maggie, Daryl, Carol, and Negan, will leave. It might not be there right away, like that might not be their initial motivation, but I think at the end of the day, that will be what those spin-offs are going to be about. Obviously, Daryl is going to have his own spin-off. He's going to go to Europe. He's the one that is more likely than the others to be connected to that Civic Republic military, Rick storyline. But I think Maggie and Negan are going to go on a journey to Manhattan, New York. Now, in terms of what leads to them leaving, I don't really have a prediction on that, but I think whatever it is, it'll be something that doesn't directly tie in with the Rick and CRM stuff, but it will become about that later on in the story for the spin-off. When it comes to Carol, I do still predict that she will have her own spin-off, maybe not right away either, maybe a few years down the line, but I do think she will have her own spin-off. Who knows? Carol might be the one that takes over for Maggie when she's gone as the face of Commonwealth, something like that. And later on, the spin-off with Carol will really be about what's going on at Commonwealth now and how is everyone doing at the Commonwealth. That could be one great way to have her re-enter the story, but also at the same time explore the Commonwealth story post the comic book story. Now, when it comes to the time jump and whether we're going to see a time jump like the comics, I do think that we will in fact see a time jump, just like the comics. And that time jump will really be focused towards one of the legacy characters, either RJ or Judith or both. Now, when it comes to how long that time jump is going to be, is it going to be like that 20 time jump like the comics? I think that's what it was. I don't think so. I don't think it'll be quite as long of a time jump. I think it'll be 5 years at max. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because if they end up doing a much longer time jump, then it'll just complicate the story, especially because we have the spin-offs now too. So the movies, spin-offs, and everything that goes with those will make things really complicated to work out if they want to have a huge time jump. When it comes to the connection to the movie and whether we're going to see any type of link like that, I don't think so. I don't think that the main storyline for Season 11's final 8 episodes are going to have anything to do with the Civic Republic military. We might get some teases at that or some small mention, but I don't think that it'll be quite as impactful to the overall story. But I do think that we will see Rick in the story, in the final 8 episodes, but it won't be in the main storyline. It'll be in a post-credit scene after the main story is done. Now, as much as I would love there to be a bigger connection to the movies, I don't think that there will be. I think we're probably gonna see Rick in a post-credit scene, but he'll cameo, and his appearance won't really impact the overall story. And I don't think that we're gonna see any type of real reunion between Rick and the other survivors. If anything, we might see that reunion in the time jump if they decide to do a much longer time jump than 5 years or so. So if they end up doing that, then it's basically going to be set after the movies are done. So Rick could come back, reunite with Judith, but it'll be 20 years down the line after the storyline with the movies and everything is over with. And who knows, we might have other characters like Daryl, Carol, Negan, and Maggie there as well, especially if they end up doing the time jump similar to how it was in the comics. But that's pretty much my predictions. I mean, like I said, more or less everything is gonna be exactly like the comics, especially when it comes to the Commonwealth. But I do think they're gonna add on a little bit more at the end of the story, more likely than not in the post-credit scene, with things that connect a little bit more with the CRM. And that's gonna be where Rick is gonna cameo as well. But like I said, there's a possibility that Rick will actually cameo not only in the post-credit scene, but also in the time jump scene as well. And if we do get that, Michonne might also come back in that episode as well. It'll be kind of a huge reunion between everyone. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this video. I think I covered everything. But with that said, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, smash that like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.